Lions are now 2-3-1 since their bye week. That's impressive for the Lions.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is the number 2 rookie wide receiver in the NFL, behind only Jalen Waddle.
He's got 65 catches.
Yep, leads the Lions, and he will probably continue to lead the Lions because T.J. Hawkinson is now second, and he's done for the year. Yep. So it was a wild week because they just destroyed the best team in football. Arizona Cardinals, who were 10-3 going into that game. The Lions had 1 win and 1 tie on their resume. Jared Goff is efficient as get out. Didn't throw for even 250 yards, but money. He was money on his passes. Craig Reynolds, the preseason superstar that didn't make a 53-man roster out of Kutztown, went off for 112 rushing yards, and he was the main workhorse on 26 carries, while DeAndre Swift is injured with a shoulder injury and Jamal Williams had COVID. Yep. So we'll see if Reynolds he did get himself signed and extended through 2022, which was nice to see.
Saw that.
And to the 53-man roster. But it's going to be interesting now with Jamal Williams coming back from COVID and potentially even DeAndre Swift, depending on his shoulder comfortability. What does his workload fall down to over one game after he's put up 89 yards in his first debut and then 112 in his second?
I think if you're the Lions, you just got to kind of ride the hot hand. I mean, I think if you get Swift back, then he's obviously more of a threat out of the backfield. So you got a few different things there. I mean, he's been one of your leading receivers all year anyway. So I think you kind of give them all some burn and see who's kind of got a little bit more flow for the game. I mean, it kind of also depends on how much both Swift and Williams practice. If Reynolds is good, I mean, if he remains healthy and good to go, then I think, obviously he's going to be getting more reps in practice than the other two. So really cool to see, it's always cool to see a story like that, where a guy kind of makes his way onto a roster and, just kind of takes advantage of his opportunity. But is he the future running back for the Lions? Yeah, probably not. But, it's cool to see that. You need guys like that, and he'll probably, he's on the 53-man roster now, so he'll probably get a chance or at least a cup of coffee with other teams too, if just based off of a couple weeks of really good performance. So I think if you're the Lions, if all three are available, then, you give them all a little bit of burn and see what happens. And, I don't think you need to rush back Swift necessarily. I don't see the point. If he's good to go, then great. Awesome. You want him good.
I want him 100%. You want him 100%.
Yeah, you want him 100%. You don't want to, re-aggravate any problems or anything because he's an injury-prone guy. That was his issues at Georgia too. So, but yeah, Swift gives you a little bit more from like an all-purpose standpoint. So, I don't really know what their statuses are yet, but I wouldn't be, Dan Campbell has shown a propensity to just kind of ride the guy that's making it work. And I think that's the way it needs to be. And, I don't think necessarily Reynolds is, the greatest running back the Lions have seen, in a while, but at the same time, that offensive line, what that tells me more than anything is, if he's able to churn out 100 and whatever yards he did, is that the offensive line is good. Right. And it's kind of a trend in the NFL this year I'm seeing, though, is the teams that just devote themselves to the run in kind of a different way, downhill run, and just legitimately devote themselves to it are kind of shocking some of these other teams. The Eagles are a team like that, actually. They've got like 7 or 8 games where they've rushed for over 175 yards. That's crazy. That just doesn't happen in today's NFL.
Because they really have a bunch of no-namers or washed-up guys like Jordan Howard, right. Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders. Like, none of those guys are any –
sprinkling it in with a QB run.
Boston Scott. Yeah, none of those guys are any bigger than really Godwin Igwebuike, Jamar Jefferson, Craig Reynolds, DeAndre Swift, and Jamal Williams. So
right. I just think that it's just so different than what most of the NFL is right now. That it's just like it's kind of like a shock when these defenses face it. You can't really simulate that in practice because nobody does it anymore. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, like, this is something maybe the Lions can, build upon and hang their hat on. And hey, we're going to be a downhill running team. Maybe we, and play action off of that. Goff's been good off play action lately, especially. And I think the thing with Goff is, like, I think he was clearly hurt for longer than maybe we even knew or heard about. Because ever since he's kind of come off of, that injury when he had to miss some time, that, he's been good, like legitimately good. Spot on,
confident,
yeah, making throws downfield where it was like, dude, why aren't you throwing the ball downfield? Well, maybe he literally physically was unable to. That's a possibility.
Getting Josh Reynolds has done wonders too for that team, and it's not like Josh Reynolds is. I would say Josh Reynolds is still a bottom number 2 wide receiver on most NFL rosters.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that Goff had familiarity with in LA and St. Louis. So it's like, I think that was a big part of it, getting that big target that was still able to create separation. Nothing that a lot of Lions wide receivers really have. Even Amon-Ra St. Brown, you like him, but I don't think his forte is always creating separation.
Yeah, he's a slot guy. He works great out of the slot. But yeah, Reynolds, you just need that big body, like that can go downfield, and like you said, having the rapport with Goff already makes a big difference. And then suddenly now things start to open up a little bit for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, where he can work some underneath stuff. And they've just kind of gotten him just more comfortable and just more involved, I think. And I think it takes some time, guys. Like, it just takes time to get these rookies acclimated and understanding what the speed of the game, and then just what it takes at this level. And it's really encouraging to see some of this. I mean, I know, like, some fans and, maybe us included to an extent are like, man, draft pick, we kind of want the number 1 pick. Still got a great chance to get it, first of all. Second of all, I think it's honestly, I would say I would like better play down the stretch leading into next season versus just, getting the number 1 pick. Yes, it's important. It'd be awesome, to get the number 1 pick, and then
maybe Aiden Hutchinson get that homer pick.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson staying in Michigan, that'd be really neat. I think he and Dan Campbell would certainly mesh, with their styles and their attitudes. But I think,
and we also got to remember, Penei Sewell was drafted at 7. Granted, he was basically a gift because a lot of people didn't think he was going to go further than 5, and a lot of people still considered him to be one of the best players in the draft, regardless.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and obviously he's been incredible. Shaky. I mean, his first game against Nick Bosa, he was dominant. Games 2, 3, and 4 was really bad, and then ever since then, he was good before Taylor Decker came back, and then he was as good when Taylor Decker came back, moving back to the other side. So he's been huge. But then we also got to think about, he was picked at 7, and the Lions almost certainly will pick top 5. I mean, if they lose one more, all they need to lose one more game, and they have pretty much guaranteed they have a top 5 pick. Yeah. And who knows if that comes against in Atlanta or in Seattle or at home versus Green Bay, but the Kyle Hamilton is still a position, a need filled, essentially. Kyle Hamilton's a very good safety. We've obviously struggled a little bit this season at safety, at least with Will Harris there. Dean Marlowe hasn't done super great. Tracy Walker struggled early on and has been very good. So if you can continue to have, re-sign Tracy Walker, get a draft like that, and then that way we don't have to draft Jaquan Brisker, in the 2nd or something. Kyle Hamilton is significantly better than the rest of the safeties in this draft class. So definitely. It would not hurt to get that pick, even if we fall a couple of spots. So
I would still, if I'm looking at it right now, I'd still sit here and say, if I were to pick like where the Lions fall, I still probably think they end up with a number 1 pick. I still think they're the worst team in the NFL. I don't think they're. Here's the thing. I think they're the worst team in the NFL. I don't think they're playing like the worst team in the NFL, though. There's a difference.
So you're looking at like on paper names.
On paper, easily the worst team in the NFL. On paper, in my opinion. I still feel like injuries. All the injuries and everything. I still think they're the worst. But they're not. They're playing with confidence, and they're kind of understanding like, hey, this is how we have to play. The coaching staff
build a culture. Yeah.
And hey, this is how we have to play. We got to play with that gritty style. We got to play with the, with the chip on our shoulder. We got to play, we got to cut the game close. We got to cut it really tight in order to even have a chance to win. There's going to be some games where we're completely outclassed talent-wise. Last week was one of them. But hey, if we play, properly and we play with spirit, teams aren't just going to come in here and roll over us. That was good to see, and they're starting to understand that. And to me, that's coaching. I mean, I've knocked Campbell's coaching to an extent. Some of the in-game stuff.
I think his in-game management still struggles. Like that's still evident, and he did still have questionable fourth down calls, but no one cares because he converted them. So people won't care if you go for them.
Here's my thing. I like the fact that he's just saying, "All right, like we're just going for it." Like and the team knows
the onside kick after the first touchdown, the first score.
Exactly. At this point, there's no reason not to do stuff like that. I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, the number one pick is the thing that you could lose, and the only way you lose that is by winning. So you might as well just gun for the win. You know what I mean? You might as well do everything possible and see what you have, right? Mm-hmm. And I like this week he switched some things up on fourth down, got a little more creative. It wasn't just some dull power run on 4th and 2 every time.
There's some good bootlegs and stuff.
Yeah, he got a little more creative with it. Got St. Brown involved on some stuff.
Jason Kabinda got a touchdown.
Yeah. And it's really good to see. I think they're just kind of finding the.
Jalen Reeves-Maybin went off that game. It was amazing.
A great game. That was the best game he's played by far.
I've never been more impressed with that Tennessee.
Easily the best game he's played. And the thing is, linebacker tackles as a stat can be skewed a little bit depending on I remember in high school we had a kid who was top 5 in the state in tackles, and he wasn't bad, but it was dude, you're making most of these tackles 6 yards downfield. That doesn't impress me as much, you know what I mean? But Reeves-Maybin was, first of all, making solo tackles consistently, right? And just he was all over the field.
I think his play of the game, was it the 2-point conversion, or was it it was a 4th down attempt at the 3-yard line. The Cardinals were about to score, and he drops all the way back in coverage, and he's in the blue end zone, and he slips, and then he charges Kyler Murray on a rollout, and he eventually jumps up and tips the ball and turnover on downs.
Yeah, he was all over the field. He defended 2 passes, had 9 total tackles, had a QB hurry, a QB hit. I mean, he had a great game. That was.
What do you think went the most wrong for Arizona to fall apart like this against a team with 1 win?
I think they got to a point where they were kind of panicking, and this can happen in games against teams like the Lions, who just, like I've said before, try to cut everything super close, play everything real close to the vest, play everything smart, right? Mm-hmm. So the Lions go on a crazy long, 7.5, 8-minute drive to start the game. They only get a field goal out of it, right? But it's all right. And then real quick, they go the Cardinals go 3 and out, right? And it's crap, we got to punt it right back to a team that just kind of methodically went down the field on us. So they do that, and so the Lions have the ball for almost the entire.
They had 9.5 minutes. They had that first drive.
So it's you can't get into a rhythm, and especially for a team that likes to spread it out, likes to go hurry up, likes to do some stuff like that. You got to get into a little bit of a rhythm. So they're never able to get into a rhythm, and then suddenly they're down early, right? And they're not down big, but they're down early, and they kind of got into panic mode. And then, Kyler was a little bit off. The Lions had a great plan to keep him contained as far as his running ability. And, from there, they're just kind of chasing it at that point. And then, Kyler threw that pick to Omowarie, and then that was kind of the game.
That was an impressive pick.
Great interception, crazy play, great return too after it, and then they scored the Kabinda touchdown after that, and that was it. I mean, that was game at that point.
Yeah.
Because the Lions aren't gonna they're to the point now where they're not beating themselves. I mean, okay, they beat themselves the previous week, but that's how really good Lions football looks right now. Yeah. They don't beat themselves. They make the opposition panic. It kind of reminds me of how Michigan played this entire season, right? Hey, we're going to methodically go down the field on you. We're not going to.
They have a similar quarterback, a guy that doesn't make a ton of mistakes, but is just does what he needs to. Just get the ball to the easy spot and let him do their job.
Easy play, hit the wide open guy when he's there, hand the ball off.
Yep.
Make the right calls at the line.
Control the clock.
Control the clock. Understand the game. Don't make any mistakes that are going to lose you the game. I mean, really, in all actuality, I mean, I know Goff threw that pick against the Broncos or fumbled against things like that. Really struggled, but in all actuality, I can't really point to necessarily games that he's just flat out lost the Lions this year. I mean, yes, he hasn't played well in some games, but like you can't point and be like Jared Goff's the reason we lost that one. Like, no, I mean, the team is the reason we lost that one. You know what I mean? Like, there's been some games where he has struggled, no doubt, and he has been bad, but it's like, look, the defense was also bad that game, or, the O-line struggled, or, the receivers struggled, that type of stuff. So I can't sit there and be like, Goff is the reason the Lions are 2-11 or whatever. I think he has a part in it, but he's also had some moments, and he's actually, I mean, if you put his stats right up next to like Matt Ryan's, he's had as good a year as Matt Ryan. Not that Matt Ryan's good, but in fact,
Matt Ryan has 18 touchdowns, 11 picks, and Goff has 17 touchdowns, 8 picks. So technically, ratio-wise, he's
yards. They're only like 300 yards apart.
And 16, he has 16 less pass attempts, and Matt Ryan has about 300 more passing yards. So, but the running game, I mean, even Cordero Patterson's yards next to DeAndre Swift, virtually identical as well, like really almost to the T.
Yep.
Like Cordero Patterson has 10 more rushing yards than Swift and has 1 more rushing TD, 7 less carries. So really close at this point in the season. Kyle Pitts. Now that's
also, can we pause and say that the fact that Cordero Patterson is the Falcons' leading rusher is not good for them.
He's had a pretty decent year when he gets the ball.
I mean, he's had a great year. I mean, honestly, it's like, man, this guy.
People thought it was Mike Davis the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even. I mean, Cordero Patterson, in all actuality, isn't a real running back.
He's Ty Montgomery. He's a taller Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's a special teams, incredible special teams player and kind of a gadget guy on offense, but they've had him basically be their running back. So, I mean, it's basically been from mid-season on too. He hasn't really. I mean, he's had a great season if you think about it, because he hasn't been there every down back the whole year. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been nice. Let's so let's make our kind of predictions and what the key to the game is going to be here for the Falcons Lions game on Sunday, 1:00.
Sure. Man, if this game was in Detroit, I would for sure pick the Lions in this game. Like, I would actually for sure. I don't think I've picked the Lions to win a single game this year. If we go back, I don't think I've done it. I've said like they could win. This is a game they could win. This is a game where they, have as good a chance as any, but I don't think I've ever picked them to win.
I actually think you're correct. Yeah, I can always fact check that later, but I think you're correct.
Yeah, I don't think I picked them to win a game. I'm going to do it this week, though. I'm going to pick the Lions to win, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be close, but they're going to win like 20-14 or something like that.
Wow. You know what? That is not bad. I think they're going to win 24-20. I'm picking the Lions as well, and I think we're gonna learn this week if momentum's a real thing, because you don't just go in and beat the best team by a bunch and then lay a goose egg. Like that's not gonna happen. So the key to the game, obviously, the Falcons are without Calvin Ridley, so that's a huge piece. And then Kyle Pitts actually only has 1 touchdown catch this whole year. He's got the yards. He's got the yards. He's 150 short of 1,000. So he's got the yards.
That's probably a Matt Ryan problem, if I'm being completely honest. I think Matt Ryan's about done.
And even before the season